is Sherri Cornett, and I am a 17-year veteran teacher. This is, however, I spent 16 years in the high school teaching biology and in the library, and I moved down to be a TRT in an elementary school this year and a computer lab teacher. So I decided to write a grant to try to find a way that I could engage my students in a way that they could produce memorable projects and me not truly knowing what their skills were at this age level. So my research question was, can hands-on activities truly increase students' ability to meet the national technology standards and standards set forth within the Common Core? So I wanted to not only address, can my students actually keyboard 10 words per minute, but could they use email for communication, or could they use technology for communication that are in those Common Core standards? And so I wanted to find ways that I could do a project-based learning type activity and still incorporate all of those technology standards that we need to be able to have our students understand. So the first thing I did was actually have my students take a pre-test at the beginning of the year. It was a 50-question multiple choice test that I made up based on the national technology standards that are produced by ISTE. And then also I went through all grades 2, 3, and 4 Common Core standards in both math and language arts and pulled out anything that was technology based. Can they use technology to communicate in writing? Can they use technology for math skills, that type of thing? I actually purchased, with the grant, 2 of these HP Stream laptops. They're about $200 a piece. So they're kind of really great. They're smaller size, so my elementary students were able to take them with them whenever we were going to do projects outside of the classroom. I also purchased 2 digital cameras and a digital camcorder. So what my students were initially going to do was be able to produce presentations that were on things that were happening either in our school or in the community. The first thing I actually had to teach them was proper use and care of technology, because we all know little hands and laptops that are mobile don't necessarily go well together. And so we spent a lesson talking about Arthur's Computer Disaster and read that book, and we talked about how we need to make sure that we do what our teachers or our parents are telling us and how to properly care for the computer so that we don't spill drinks in them and that type of thing. We talked about how to carry the equipment and clean the keyboards and screens. We talked about how to store the equipment. I think that's a piece that's a lot of times left out of our technology lessons, is how do we, when we bring it back or where we're finished, what do we do with it then? Do we just leave it sitting in the middle of the floor because we were working in the floor? You know, what do we do with it? And then how do we erase the images that my group had so that the next group doesn't use them or doesn't have access, since we wanted to talk about copyright law. Another focus was on keyboarding skills. The technology standard is 10 words per minute for 3rd and 4th grade. I am happy to say that all of my 3rd and 4th grade students far exceeded this limit. My average keyboarding skill for my 3rd grade students after these projects is 18 words per minute, and I only had one student that was 11 words per minute. Everyone else was 15 or better. My average for my 4th grade students is 19 words per minute, and I actually have a student in 4th grade that did not even know what the home row keys were in 4th grade at the beginning of the year, and he now types 39 words a minute. So I'm very impressed with, and we didn't do anything except this project. This was their main thing. We worked on coding some, and then we worked on these projects throughout the course of the year, because I only get my students 1 time a week for 40 minutes. And so it's hard to keep an ongoing project realized. I did just find where I got my words per minute. It's just a quick website that's a free website. It requires the students to type 3 lines of text, including returns, and that allowed me to get a good estimate of what their words per minute were. So it was all 3rd and 4th grade students that I actually included in this project, but it's a unique project in that one class worked on videos and PowerPoint presentations for incoming kindergarten students. Things like, what do you do when you come in the building in the morning, and where do you go sit in the cafeteria? How do you eat your breakfast in the classroom? How do you get from the classroom to the library? Because in our building, you go out a set of double doors, through a glass L-shaped hallway, up 2 sets of steps, and then into the library. What are the rules for when you get to the computer lab? What are the rules for cleaning up in the computer lab? To push your chair under, hang your headphones up, click on the apple to log out, those types of skills. I don't have any of those videos embedded in this PowerPoint because the PowerPoint had to be in 2 weeks ago, and my students were just finishing their presentations that week in class, and they actually asked me not to include any. They wanted me to wait. They will be uploaded to the Holler before we go out of school, but they wanted to do some peer review and peer editing. After they had done their presentations, some of them said, I learned from the questions that other students asked me, and I want to go back and change blah, blah, blah. So they wanted to go back. My intent had been that they would either do a PowerPoint or they would do a video. And my students had other ideas. So they actually ended up doing things like bit strips. They made comic strips out of some of it. I have one group of students who are in third grade. They will not finish their project this year. They're going to continue it on into their fourth grade year. We started the code.org course 2 with my third grade students, and my students have finished that entire course. This group of 5 students have, and they are writing their own video game to do some of the kindergarten activities. They have actually designed a video game that has multiple levels that shows each hallway of our school building, and have the kids can go in and the teacher introduces themselves and the students can walk around the room and go back out. So it's so we're hoping to have it done by Christmas next year, because we are going to have some teachers move classrooms, so some of their code that they've written is going to have to be changed. But I think that's amazing for, you know, a 9-year-old to write that complex of a, it's better than I could do. I had to learn coding myself to teach it this year. It is project-based learning. Another group focused on gathering images from our community and taking their own pictures. They walked around the city and they said, you know, I'm a new student this year. I had a couple that came in October and they had to be added into groups. And one group was working on this project and they said, I'm a new student. I came from Montana to Hazard, Kentucky. I know nothing about your state and nothing about your city. Somebody had to give me directions 3 times from my parents basically to find the school, because we're up on a hill and the directions are like go to Triangle Park, which is no longer a triangle, and turn and you go up the hill, and you know it's a one-way street, but there's no one-way streets marked. I mean, so you have to learn. So they wanted to go around and they actually took pictures of things like our new bridge that we have in town, the Gorman Memorial Bridge, and they took images of the pavilion, which is where they go swimming, and the city park, and just different images so that they could be able to introduce new students. And so we've actually used part of their PowerPoint when we had a new 4th grade student come in March, and they used the PowerPoint to show him some of the things that are available around town. And 3 weeks later, the student had his birthday at the public library because he had found the public library and that they had birthday parties there through our student project. One group, of course boys, focused on the history of basketball from our high school. And we have a fantastic WSGS is our local radio station, and they have a great web page or Facebook page, and they allowed my students to have free use of any of their images for their presentations. And our students went back and went through the logs of thousands upon thousands of pictures and were able to find images like this one from 1952 when our boys state basketball team was state championship. I think it was 52, I could be wrong, 52, 55, somewhere in there. And they were able to find some of these old images, and of course we got good laughs out of what the uniforms looked like, but we talked about change over time and how things like that happened. We also have a local photographer who gave us free use of all of his images that he takes of the city. He does a daily image on Facebook. It's his picture of the day, and he gave us use of all of his images. His name's Jeff Strong, so if he's watching us on camera, I want to thank Jeff because he said he might today. Another group was supposed to work on describing different community service projects that our school offers, because we do Pennies for Patients, and we have different food drives and things throughout the year, but they actually changed their project around on their own and talked to me about it and their teachers. For the 100th day of school, the last couple of years we've tried to do a pet drive at this elementary school, and it hasn't gone so well. So these students wanted to take on and not only do the presentation about the different community service project, but they actually wanted to lead it for the school. And this is a picture of all of our students and faculty, and the entire center circle is filled with pet supplies. So their goal was to get 100 items of either dog foods, bleaches, cleaning supplies, that type, dog food bowls, that type of thing. They wanted to collect 100 for the 100th day of school. We ended up getting 300 and some items in to be able, and with the animal shelter actually came over and accepted the donation from our students, and then our students were able to go present at the animal shelter banquet that they have every spring to recognize their volunteers, and they got to go present, and they were given little plaques and awards for their presentation and their donation. My results on that 50-question multiple choice test I began at the beginning of the year with, I gave it again about 3 weeks ago. 87% of my students showed proficiency in the use of PowerPoint. 100% passed the technology standard benchmark of 10 words per minute. 78% of my 3rd grade and 81% of my 4th grade scored above benchmark that I'd set for proficiency on that 50-question exam. And again, I did not do direct instruction lesson of these are the home keys. You need to type only with this finger, type A. You know the way I was taught to type or keyboard? They learn through experience. And I have been amazed at the results I've gotten this year. So now I've got to figure out what lessons I'm going to prepare for next year since they accomplished everything that I set forth this year. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, thank you very much.